Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello, hello. Let's get it going. Flat Earth Debate.
Hey, good morning.
Hope you all enjoyed the hedge trimmer outside my window right as my intro started. I'm going to go and shut my window so you can't hear that anymore. Any evidence of a physical geometric spheroid horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Negative.
Nobody claims that crazy stuff anymore.
Black.
Use a leaf blower. Anyway. What about axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Does it have an axis to rotate on?
You'll need R for that. Any
Need a
evidence?
flat plane to get R.
You will. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline? Take that as a no.
Syntax error.
And
I was about to say
negative.
the big one on the big thing on that is from a curved baseline, not to a curved baseline. They get confused about those words.
To an assumed curved baseline. No, from a curved baseline.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Arwin. Shout out to Chronicles of the Uncensored. Is that right? No, Unconvinced. Too small a text for my early morning. Shout out to you. Anyway, I mentioned Nathan Oakley channel in my ebook, which is available on Kindle. Search Amazon for unreasonable request, in quotes, to find out what I said about it. Well, that's a very subtle plug for your book on Amazon. Isn't Amazon called Audible now? Isn't that what they call the bookstore on Amazon? Isn't it Audible? Could be wrong about that. But yeah, unreasonable request. Shout out to you for the super chat, and yeah, hopefully somebody does as a result of your plug. I'll leave it on screen for as long as it'll scroll up. Where were we? Curve baseline?
Yeah, curved adjacent. What is it again? Elevation angle.
Two straight lines.
Right. I brought it up in my chat yesterday, and there were people that were getting really angry over that. Some of them actually started like straight out cursing at me for really hammering it down. Like, it's a syntax error. The geometry program that AutoCAD that was made to like do the geometric calculations for us very quickly, like can't resolve it. It gives a syntax error. It's telling you this is impossible. But still, they insist that it is possible. They don't show you how it is possible. They just say it has to be possible, and then they don't demonstrate it. Because you can't demonstrate it. Not even a computer could virtually demonstrate it.
Okay, just for clarity, right? Syntax error is a programming command error that you used to get on like BBC Bees and Masters and things of that nature from the 1980s. So I grew up with a dad who was a programmer and a mom who worked in a computer shop selling computer bits. So syntax error is a very old command error. It's saying there's an error in the code that you've written in the line of instruction. So syntax is language, An error in syntax is an error in the language and the code that you're trying to tell the computer to do something. So you tell it to load something and it doesn't, you haven't put the command in properly.
Well,
Syntax error would come up.
It's basically telling you this code cannot be processed.
Right, but I was getting to my point of why you've used it. Yes, that's not the point. Thank you. The point is that the reason I'm saying syntax error is because Rob Durham put a request into his CAD program to get an elevation angle from a curved baseline on a sphere model, on a sphere in the CAD model. And it's just said something like error. It didn't say syntax error, that's for damn sure. But what Arwin's communicating eloquently, other than the incorrect use of the word syntax error, which I threw in once for humorous effect and is somehow stuck. I don't know why, but there we go. It's not a syntax error. You can't get a curved angle. That's what it is. It's just an error. I don't know what it said on Rob Durham's program. I'll have to look it up just so I can correct it for future reference, because I don't want people coming along and having been born before 1980 and go, I know what a syntax error. That's not a syntax error.
No, but it could be. It depends on the AutoCAD program. If it is simply a set of options of geometry calculation possibilities that are put together in that program, and suddenly a request is made for which there literally is no pre-program, it doesn't understand the code, then it could literally break the program in the moment, literally shut down the program, even as you're doing
shut
it.
Anything down, right? The end of the world isn't going to come in
error.
computing terms because you've asked a computer to give you an angle from a curve. It just says, no, I can't do that, which is what Rob Durham's program shows. I would dig it out, but running a live show and all that. But trust me,
right?
I'm majoring on the minors just because I don't want it to stick from here on forward, this syntax error thing. It's not a syntax error anyway, but the rest of what you said, aside from 50% of it now being this discussion, was excellent.
Right, and it gets some people out there that are trolling for the ball, that gets them really pissed off, actually vicious, more than any other argument.
If you want to get them even more angry, you can point out that they can't even get a straight line to a curved surface in a heliocentric model.
Why not? Why can't you just draw out a line from a vantage point in orthographic view to a tangent point on a sphere that you've presupposed? I don't get why you couldn't do that.
Black swan.
Oh, of course. I love it.
Yeah, but it's refracted.
Yes, indeed. Go ahead, John. You take the glory while Arwin rumpus us both.
Yeah, it bent light, but you still have a straight line of sight.
Yeah. Check out, what did I call it? Straight versus bent, which is a Kumu virus having to double speak his way around the necessity for a straight line and his unfortunate situation that leaves him with a bent one in refraction as a result of the black swan. But I was hoping John would break that down rather than me, but thank you, Arwin.
All over my toes, man. All over my toes.
Sorry.
Disgusting. Should we move on, or did you want to take anything from that, John? Or add anything to it, I should say.
Nah, I was kind of doing it to troll the ballers anyway, or the anti-flat earthers, really.
Yeah, that's correct. You don't have a straight line to a tangent point anymore. Hey, Rufy. Hey, how's it going? How's that straight line serving you? Well, good. Yeah, not refraction, right? No Atmo day today? No? Yeah, they haven't got a straight line anymore. Bummer, eh? They deny the bulge that gets in the way. This guy on screen right here had his co-hosts telling him, no, we do claim a bulge. What are you talking about? When he denied it as a result of the black swan paradigm that they're left with. Anyway, any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Anyone who claims the distance is contradicting the celestial sphere model.
It's a bit of a problem if your heliocentric model's derived from it, really, isn't it? And it is. Has nobody taken you up on debating you over the model that they choose on your behalf? And obviously, chances are they'll pick a heliocentric model to defend. Has anybody actually taken you up on that?
Well, what happens usually is if they get in contact with me, they'll spend hours wanting to negotiate or debate about whether they're going to debate me instead of just setting up the debate. I'll say, I concede everything. Go ahead. wherever you want, however you want. Just tell me so I can be there. That's all and they won't do it.
Yeah, because you've realised how strong the position is to the point where you can literally declare that, yeah, I'll basically concede anything you like with the total assured confidence that I'll still win. When can I meet you? Now, you don't have to say that, but your demeanour makes that clear when you just are quick to concede anything. Maybe, I mean, I'm not suggesting you do anything, but perhaps it might be an idea to put up a bit of a fight just to seem like you need something. Oh, well, obviously I need it on, these terms because, I'm not 100% confident I'm going to absolutely wipe the floor with you regardless of which model you tell me I'm going to take. Because telling them that they can even give you their model, whichever model they want you to defend, it eludes too much confidence.
Well, I tell them that they can choose the model I'll defend, and they can even choose mine. Or we have to defend a model, and they can even choose mine. It's kind of like a double-edged.
Okay, let's give you an analogy.
Backhanded.
Right, you turn up at the ring. We're going to have it as a fighting scenario, right? And you, in this example, are Bruce Lee. And the opponent walks in, and very calmly, you walk over to this array of weaponry. And you go, pick whatever weapon you like. And, check it out, I'll have whatever weapon you pick for me. I don't mind. You can pick whatever you like. I don't mind. What's that you say? You want me to tie one hand behind my back? Yeah, okay, if that's what you need me to do, I'll do that. So Bruce Lee is basically going, yeah, whatever you say. Yeah, just pick the weapon for me. I don't mind. And the guy's looking at him going, yeah, you don't look like you're nuts. You don't sound like you're nuts. So this is probably going to end really badly no matter what I pick, isn't it? Doesn't matter which knife I give you, you're going to stick it in me and I'm going to be disarmed immediately, aren't I? And that confidence is eluded by him going, if Bruce Lee in this scenario went, oh, well, obviously I want one as big as you've got. If you're going to pick a giant 4-foot spear, I want a giant 4-foot. If you put that kind of resistance up, they might be a bit less off on their back foot, going, hang on, why do I need to be so on guard here? Do you know what I'm getting at?
Right, it becomes extra intimidating.
You're too intimidating, exactly. Your confidence is too high. It's justified. We know why it is, and we can smirk about it now and say, how can we make it seem like we're actually scared of the ballers? Any of the over 100 people watching want to know why it's so quiet in terms of baller interaction at the moment? This is why. They know that they have to concede a flat plane to go forward in the discussion with us. That's embarrassing.
Yep.
Yeah, and any model they bring up will be a flat plane model. There's no confusion on that anymore. They want to hold up two flat plane models in false dichotomy, claim one has a globe when it's a flat plane model, and then say that their flat plane model wins, therefore it's a globe, and that's not happening anymore.
Yeah, because both are derived from an origination of a flat plane model called the celestial sphere model. A flat plane with a dome of the heavens, i.e. your perspective view of the heavens, the sky, presented in that model. Well, you can derive that, which is taken from a flat plane and elevation angle measurements to Polaris and all the other stars, and wrap it around a sphere. But you're going to need the angles off a flat plane first to do so. This was in answer to the question distance to the sun, by the way, so... Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Just before we move on?
I don't know where it is. It's all rainy.
But distance to it, though.
Well, if we don't get to see it, how do we know it has a location?
We do get to see it. You just talked about how you just can't see it at the moment. And what about... Let's try that again. Just calm down. Any evidence of the distance, that's a measurement, doesn't matter what units, to the sun. Don't give me 3AU either, Arwin, because I said it didn't matter what units.
Yeah, but that only works if it is actually visible, right? If there's no apparent phenomena phenomenon, then there is no apparent distance. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist because I can't see it.
Who can see it? What are you talking about? There's an apparent thing we call the sun that I can see. What are you talking about?
But not right now.
Okay, let's move on. Unless anybody's got anything useful to add. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
If we could see it, it would be 3AU. Oh, the molten iron core, right? Nope, just rumors, stories based on imagination of what should be down there, and nothing else really.
And a backstory about Thea.
There's a well-developed lore about assuming cores, though. They've sure developed that, and now project that onto other assumed to be celestial physical bodies.
The idea that there's a center of Earth contradicts the celestial sphere model.
How so?
The celestial sphere with a flat plane dividing it. It's not you're not standing on a sphere in that model.
Right, so based on the flat plane and the derivative angles that were used to make that flat plane, you can't then bend those flat angles into a sphere to claim that there's a molten iron core at the centre of it, correct?
Basically, yeah.
Any evidence we can have gas pressure, like we're all breathing, without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon? Pretty fundamental question.
The only way to prove that is to assume that it exists and then claim that the before thought of natural law doesn't actually apply as before thought of.
Yeah, that's correct. The natural law, aka second law of thermodynamics, doesn't apply to a sphere Earth because it has a vacuum with high pressure gas next to it. So ergo, second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to a sphere Earth. On screen now, all of these clouds, that's high pressure gas. All of the blue bit, that's claimed to be a layer of air. Well, that's high pressure gas. What's the black bit? Well, this is a vacuum. 10 to the minus 17 torr, more powerful than any vacuum ever created on Earth by man. With thick walls? No thick walls. Nothing dividing them. AKA a second law of thermodynamics violation. This gas would fill this space. We'd all be dead. The globe model would never have developed gas pressure in the first place.
Yeah, that's the only time in that argument that you can respond with that contradicts the celestial sphere model is when they make a positive claim about a sky vacuum.
But how could we have gas giants then?
But they do so easily with one word that's used in common language. Half the time, even the anti-flat earthers who try and come here to avoid doing that will accidentally say atmosphere, and then they're screwed. Sphere-shaped air? What, wrapped around a sphere, not taking me into a vacuum? Following atmospheric law rather than just gas law and natural law. I see, special law for gas that doesn't fill spaces. Yeah. No, air isn't sphere-shaped. Atmo means air, sphere means sphere, air isn't sphere-shaped. Unbonded gases take the shape of their container, whatever that may be. And what do you know? Earth doesn't have any containment around it if you believe it's a sphere. Just a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum with the high pressure gas not filling it. Yeah, what a joke.
But Nathan, when I look through my telescope, I can see Jupiter, and that's a giant gas ball.
By your assumption, it's just a light in the sky. I've got a telescope.
But
that's
satellites
science.
moved very close to it, and they took a measurement.
A measurement? A measurement of what? The light?
No. The gases, like, off Jupiter as it flew
No, they measured
by.
the light and assumed it, and then derived their claim of gas, again violating the second law of thermodynamics, instead of expanding to fill the volume, collapsing with gravitational accretion into a planet. Ugh, no. Second law of thermodynamics violation. Gases don't form balls. High pressure gases, what the hell? Nonsense. It would expand into the gas depleted area around it. That would be the vacuum they got in the spaces.
No, when you exhale, there's orbs of gas.
We're already in gas pressure when you exhale. You're in a high pressure gas state when you're inhaling and exhaling, so that's not really a decent example, Neil.
Nathan, sphere, it's a godly shape. Everything is a sphere, and we're on a sphere. What's the matter with you? It's divine. Get with the program.
Yeah, you're not a high standard of baller, Neil. Sorry. Just got to lay it out like that.
Thank God for that.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
I wouldn't. No.
Which one?
Either.
I would be happy with an observed phenomenon at this point.
Hello, I just dropped my car keys. There's your phenomenon.
No. I think that Neil's earlier argument about the spheres of gas prove gravity, because how else could gas be spheres if not for gravity?
I just dropped my key-shaped helium balloon and it didn't go down.
Cool.
What say you, Neil?
I say correct.
It's buoyancy, Neil.
That's
What
a hell
kind
of a baller
are
fight.
you? Buoyancy.
I'm in the middle of doing
gas is
DoorDash.
heavier and pushes down, making the helium balloon float on top.
So which gases go down, go boom boom from the sky to force the helium key up, Arwin?
Huh?
Which gases are coming down like rain, produced in the sky and going down, go boom boom, as opposed to produced at ground level and expanding out and up to the very highest heights like Everest? Very thin air, because it's diffused into the rest of the air. It's become less. That's what happens. It's an entropic effect. Dispersion, diffusion, those are all entropic effects. That's why it's made its way up there. So I'm asking which gases go down, like you just asserted with buoyancy that assumes gravity.
They still spread around, right? Like fluids. It's still going to mix and all that, but the overall mass of it pushes down like a blanket, right? It's just, so yeah, if there's going to be more cohesive, very low density gas in between that, it's going to want to sit on top of that whole mesh being pushed down.
So a mesh like a blanket, so a homogeneous layer of gas, right? Like a blanket.
Oh, it's inhomogeneous.
Well, gas is inhomogeneous, i.e. anisotropic. A mixture of all the different gases doesn't form a layer. It's not homogeneous in the slightest. We're talking about a layer pressing down. That layer isn't a layer. It's been produced at ground level and is escaping up, not down.
Yes.
Well, that's not
the whole
down.
thing is a layer, but as long as the
Not a
gases
layer.
haven't mixed in yet, they will want to separate because of buoyancy and sit on top. But eventually they will mix in and then become a part of the entire blanket.
Not mix in and sit on top. They're produced at ground level. How are they mixing in and sitting on top if they're produced at ground level?
No, I'm saying they would, but they eventually mix in.
From ground level to up. Yeah, that process of diffusion.
Right.
That's entropy.
But the whole still presses downward.
No, it doesn't. What are you talking about? It's expanding in all directions, all vectors equally, and dispersing into whatever volume it's got to fill.
I'm sorry, you just don't understand how the atmosphere works.
Atmosphere, eh? Sphere-shaped air? No.
Yeah.
No. Gases don't take the shape of a sphere arbitrarily. They take the shape of whatever containment they've got.
Right. And in this case, the containment is gravity.
Gravity? What's that? Downward vector. We've just established that gas doesn't go down. It expands in all directions. It doesn't have a downward bias with gravity, 9.8 meters per second. It's how you do it, Neil, by the way.
But it goes in all directions, but it's still also going down. Remember
I
Rumpus's
see.
lesson?
So all vectors, all directions, but also down 9.8 meters per second, as well as all directions.
You're rumpusing me, even when I quoted.
Exactly, Owen. He's rumpusing you, Owen. Don't let him get away with it.
He's rumpusing my quote of Rumpus, no less.
My
Right?
bad.
Remember how Rumpus said the gas might be accelerating up, but that doesn't mean it's not also accelerating down.
So as it's going up, to expand to fill the availability of volume, it's also simultaneously falling down at 9.8 meters per second squared. No, that's a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to go up if it wasn't already going down.
It wouldn't be
come on.
able to go
but
up
it's-
if it wasn't
it's
already
also
going
going
down. Is Brian trying to play baller?
Yeah, well, that's what the kind of things they say, yeah.
No, the current rhetoric is that the ground is rushing up towards the air as it's produced and then expands in all directions, all vectors to fill the space. But they've got the ground rushing up towards the air. That's what they currently claim.
Yeah, but
That's
I'm
just
a Mongoloid.
Einstein relative talk. That's not really what they think right now.
Yeah, it is. You're wrong.
Yeah, it is. Could I ask? Hey, everyone. Hey, Nathan.
Hello, Brian.
Could I
Good to
ask
have you.
John how are things? Could I ask John a question there? Refracted curvature. If he's available.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you asked a minute ago. You said you'd settle for just an observed phenomenon. So how would you know what the observed phenomenon is? You said you'd like for gravity. You said you'd be happy enough with just an observed phenomenon now. But how would you know the observed phenomenon is gravity? You don't know what gravity is.
Yeah, we do.
Nobody does.
Yeah, I do.
As an observed phenomenon. So
I know
you
what
see
it
an
is.
observed
It's just a
phenomenon.
word.
Careful. No, they have got a description in both instances of an observed phenomena. It just doesn't happen. One is designed to be in an area that you'll never experience, i.e. pseudo-4 space, and the other simply doesn't occur, even though it's described to occur in nature. So, on the one hand, you've got Newtonian, falsely ascribed, actually, C.V. Boys and Reverend John Michel and Cavendish gravity. Well, their phenomena, claimed to happen actually in the three-dimensional world we experience, is mass attracting mass. That's their claimed phenomena. But as you just heard with the discussion with Arwin, that doesn't pad out when you get to a particular state of matter. You don't get to gas and have it going down 9.8 meters per second because it's attracted to the mass of Earth, which is significantly larger in the heliocentric model. Therefore, gas go down, go boom, boom? No. But who cares? That's out of date by 107 years. So since then, we've had Einsteinian bending of space-time. That's the claimed phenomena. Now, can you experience pseudo-Riemannian 4 space-time bending? No, you cannot. Doesn't change the fact that they've got a phenomena. That's an effect. And they've even got an ascribed cause for it. Do you know what the ascribed cause is for that phenomena they claim in pseudo-4 space that we don't experience? What's the cause?
Yeah, but that's
Uneven
not a
distribution
phenomenon.
of mass.
Uneven
It's
distribution
not.
of
Hold on.
mass.
That's not
Hold
a
on,
phenomenon.
Neil. Everyone out, shut up. Go ahead, Neil.
It's an uneven distribution of mass.
Right, so there's your cause and effect relationship in the most recent and current incarnation of gravity. That's their phenomena and the claimed cause of it in a dimension you don't experience. Now, I know what Brian's next point's going to be. Well, we don't experience it, so I'm asking for an actual phenomena we'd experience in nature. That's what a phenomena is, right? But I'm just saying there is a Weasley answer to your question beyond there is no phenomena. There's a described pseudo-phenomena in a pseudo-geometry currently.
A phenomenon in a
Yeah, but-
concept is not a phenomenon. That's
Correct.
ridiculous.
Agreed.
Exactly, it's not. But the point I'm making is, for something to become something and call something, like when it comes to the real world and physics and science, natural science, you start off with a natural phenomena. You determine, like that's your dependent variable. You then have what you think is causing this. That's your independent variable. Then you do the hypothesis test, and that determines whether your presumed cause is correct or not, because you have your alternative and null hypotheses. But the problem is, how would you know if, like, we don't have an observed phenomenon. So if you observe the phenomenon, regardless of what they say, nobody observed the phenomenon to be tested and proven to be proven, and then called, after this thing was proven, then called gravity. None of that ever happened. So John asking for an observed phenomenon, nobody would ever know if the phenomenon would, if your cause was tested to what you think was causing the phenomenon, like the point is, that never happened for gravity to turn up in the first place.
Right.
None of that ever happened.
If you can't observe the phenomenon, it's
So
not
how
a
would you
phenomenon.
know what the phenomenon is? You would have to test it and then call it if you proved that
That's
it
wrong.
was what
Stop.
you thought.
That's wrong.
Makes-
Sorry. Just let Arwin repeat his last statement because he was bang on, straight out of QE's presentations. But say it again, Arwin.
Right. So if you can't observe it, it's not a phenomenon.
Right. It's
The
not a
whole
phenomenon.
point about a phenomenon is that you actually take note of it. Otherwise, there's literally nothing. Just an idea.
Thank you. Yeah, Brian got it right when he said there's nothing happening. So what is a phenomena? It's something happening in nature. What causes that to happen? So what Brian's saying is, if nothing's happening, how are you supposed to observe it as a phenomena when a phenomena is something occurring? And Arwin's saying, in scientific vernacular, it's not a phenomena until it's an observed phenomena. In other words, you've got to see something happening and go, I wonder what caused that. Now, whatever that thing may be, it's got to be an occurrence. Well, with gravity, what's occurring? It's very Welsh. What's occurring? Anyway, what's occurring in nature? What do we actually see happening? Now, the descriptions they give us, if we exclude the fourth dimensional space-time bending nonsense, because that's something you're never going to experience, it's a mathematical description in a pseudo-geometry. But if we exclude that, what you're left with is the only other natural phenomena that they could describe, mass attracting mass. Well, gas behaviour defies that. End of phenomena description within the context of gravity. Now, we could speculate beyond that, which is not our purview, right? That's for the anti-flat earthers to come up with some nonsense beyond the rhetoric to give us as a claimed phenomena, you know, and to a degree dropping your keys is a bit like that, but it's still asserting that mass attracts mass.
Yeah, but I think that you're kind of missing the point I'm making. Even if you did observe mass attracting mass or the curvature of space-time, right? Now, we don't and won't be observing this. But hypothetically, if you did observe that, people would instantly call it gravity. Hang on, we observed this phenomenon. Now we must test, right? We must say, wait, what's our cause? We can't say our cause is gravity. Gravity is a nothing. No, gravity is a name you give to something that has been proven. That's what they're
Finally
supposed to
tweaked
do.
what you're saying. What you're saying is, typically speaking, this happens in debate, and now I've contextualised how what you're describing would occur when you're discussing it with an anti-flat earther. They reposition, back to the pink writing, which I'll contextualise in a second, they reposition what they've claimed to be an effect as the cause. So they take a sidestep. So instead of it being, this thing has happened, I wonder what caused it, they switch that round the other way round. Well, gravity caused it. Hold on a second. Weren't you just saying that the thing we observed, let's say mass attracting mass, so let's say that Brian's saying that it's not going to be observed, but let's pretend that they slap together a little contraption called Cavendish and say that's mass attracting mass. Look, it's happening before your very eyes. Oh, okay. Really? What's the cause of that? What you now call gravity as an effect. Well, the cause is gravity. What do you mean the cause is gravity? Yeah, it's caused by gravity. That's why the mass attracts the mass, because of the gravity. So they switch the independent variable for the dependent variable, or in this case, the dependent variable claimed phenomena thing to be happening, with now a claimed cause of the thing happening. Why did that happen? Well, because of gravity. Oh, so gravity is causal now. It's not the effect we observe. It's the cause of the effect we didn't really observe. So when this happened back in 2019, might be a bit early, might be 2018, QE used to get out a set slide, right? And he'd stick it on screen for the audience to see while we were quizzing people on gravity. Because once they established that they were going to claim it was science, which they always did, we'd say, okay, what is your independent variable? After we establish that the effect they're claiming is gravity. As soon as they establish that, we're like, great, you're halfway there. Dependent variable, that's the phenomena we're studying, the thing in nature that happened. That's already established because gravity is the effect, now that you've claimed it as the effect. So you write it down, dv gravity, and then you move on to the next step, formulating a hypothesis. Well, what do you need if you've already got half of it? Well, you just need the independent variable. And invariably, because they weren't necessarily paying attention to the live stream, They'd forget that QE had written it down 30 seconds earlier. And then they'd say, well, the cause is gravity. You'd be like, no, that's your effect. No. What I'm describing is that gravity is a cause to pull things to the ground. And so it goes on. So that's what you're describing, the switcheroo from effect to cause, right, Brian?
Well, yeah, but even the thing about it is that if they ever did see mass attracting mass, they just go, gravity is the cause. But that would mean they would never ever actually investigate what the real cause is. They just have a thing, or they already have a pre-assumed cause to something, and they're just going to label it with that without any hypothesis test. They won't even come up with a hypothesis. They won't be. They already have the. Go on.
I was going to say, the minute you ask for scientific evidence, you're outside of hypothetical. So you need to observe a phenomenon.
Yeah, but that's my point. The point I'm making is, you said earlier, you'd be happy with just an observed phenomenon. But the problem with that is how would you know it's gravity? What is gravity? You wouldn't know that something, like gravity is a nothing. Like, you can't call an observed phenomenon caused by gravity. But gravity is not anything. It was never proven to exist. It was never anything. No, it was no scientific evidence, no anything. You have a phenomenon. Hang on. You have a phenomenon. That's it.
No, they have two claimed phenomenons that are never observed. So they're not phenomenons.
No, they're not. But the point I'm making is, you would never know if you've seen gravity as a phenomenon, because you don't know what gravity is. Nobody was ever able to show it.
If you observe mass attracting mass,
that doesn't mean it's gravity. You have to prove that.
What?
If you observe mass attracting mass, that doesn't mean that it's gravity. You have to prove your cause. And then you can call your cause gravity if you've proven it's the thing you think it's causing. But you can't say the cause is gravity. Gravity is nothing. Gravity it's a nothing. It hasn't been proven to exist. It's a nothing. So you see mass attracting mass, if you ever did see it, which you won't. But the point is, hypothetically, if you saw this, you can't instantly claim, oh, that's gravity then. No, you haven't proven the cause of the effect. When you prove the cause of the effect, you can call that cause whatever you want then.
That's what you'll do with your observed phenomenon, is try to figure out the cause of the effect. I'm saying you don't even have the observed phenomenon to get to the scientific method to assert cause and effect.
Yeah,
right,
but you wouldn't even know if you did.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the original point. So yeah, what you've got to actually see it happening first to then claim that you can vary something to cause it to happen. So it's got to be. We hit the nail on the head. It's not a phenomenon until it's an observed phenomenon, and there isn't one. But we're tailing into the next question beautifully anyway. So any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Dark matter. No, dark matter specifically could never be a phenomenon. Just wanted to mention that.
We're looking for a full viable hypothesis. I just want to move on from us, going around in circles about what they haven't got to see to claim is a phenomena. What have they got at all that they can call science ever in those fields?
Well, they probably would like to say chocoloscopy, or what's it called again?
Spectroscopy.
Stellar spectroscopy.
Yeah, stellar spectroscopy.
Unfortunately, though, it is very non-viable.
Well, there's nothing wrong with studying lights. There's nothing to discredit spectroscopy, but they've hijacked it and then used it to claim the lights in the sky have a certain build-up and a certain makeup because something that's comparable in a controlled environment has the same spectrum. You're like, no, there's a whole load of crap, especially if you're under the assumption that your stellar spectroscopy is under the assumption of a heliocentric model. Like, how do you know what's between you and that light? It's far from controlled. Now, even if you did it in a non-assumption of heliocentrism, it's like you don't even know what the light is at that point. So you're telling me that you know what it is and your physical assumption bias applies, and therefore the light's under controls and the spectrums that you get from them match. Therefore, it is this composition of gases and rocks? No.
Well, let me go out of the really is level for just a second and just say look, if they would send up a spaceship, go there, and actually take a sample of what they compared with stellar spectroscopy or sized up the material to be there, and then took a sample, then they might have a viable hypothesis that would indicate that it actually worked. Problem is, though, you can't really do that.
That's not a phenomena. You haven't got an observed phenomena in that discussion. Finding something that matches isn't a phenomena. That's not something occurring. And besides, I
you're
get
right.
I get that you disclaim not
It's a what
really is
is.
level. I get that you disclaim not really is level, but by the same token, you've got to travel through a sky vacuum in that paradigm, and they're claiming to do that, hoping that no one will call them on the fact that the machinery they've sent through the atmosphere, in quotes, into the sky vacuum and onto Mars, well, that journey's an impossible journey. We don't have a sky vacuum. But so long as we all say, oh, well, next step is to go and prove that your stellar spectroscopy matches what you thought was Mars by bringing back some samples. Oh, check it out. Look, I've got a vial of Mars here. Have you really? Wow, how'd you get that here? Well, we launched off the... It was very complicated, and in 20 years we'll have lost the technology and won't be able to bring it back.
Right, but they still got moon dust, so if they can have moon dust with all that security, I think that they could eventually end up with some Mars dust as well.
I think you could make a lot of money off that if you were Buzz Aldrin and you've got an eBay account.
They
A
don't
vial of Mars dust?
they don't have a viable hypothesis. It's they look at something and then they have to do seat of the pants, guesswork, as Michio Kaku says, because they can't run it through the scientific method.
And that's what the astro-theorists do.
Well, it's all assumption. It's all assumption based. If you can't take it through the scientific method and you want to push the heliocentric model, then you've got to do seat of the pants stuff and just make it up as long as it matches your model. But you didn't run it through any scientific procedure.
Doesn't
Right,
even have
they're
to match the model.
model-based, not empiricism-based.
Doesn't even have to match the model. If the model's wrong, you can just change the model, right?
The flat Earth model of a celestial sphere, that one.
The globe model, after you've taken your flat Earth angles and created the celestial sphere model, you can then take that, turn it into a globe/heliocentric model with a solar system. And then if anything doesn't quite fit and work within that, for example, the second law of thermodynamics, well, you just change the model. Then you apply atmospheric gas law rather than the second law of thermodynamics, and the model then works again, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's not a model. That's a delusion. If you're contradicting your original measurement, claim a model, that doesn't make sense.
But yes, that's correct. But by the time you're at that stage, just to get to the heliocentric solar system-based globe Earth model, you've already taken flat Earth angle measurements and derived a celestial sphere model to then turn that into a bastardization of the original model by bending the very ground that you took an angle from into a sphere. So once you're at that stage, that's the bit where that's why you're so confident in your debate stature at the moment. Once you're at that stage, you've got to concede that you've already done that. Now, obviously, they've hidden that particular part of going from a flat Earth measurement to a globe Earth and start with everybody being indoctrinated into that first step. Earth is a sphere by first assumption. And if you think it's flat, like we covered in the pre-show, understand how stupid and demented that is, because you don't have science and you don't have knowledge. And you don't just go around believing what you see. Ugh, idiots. Understand how spherical it is. From step one, therefore, when you move forward, you're going to be moving forward with that premise, having already gone past the fact that you've measured a flat plane, derived the celestial sphere model, and then bent the lines that you measured straight to get it into a globe. So from there, once on a globe, you then get into the discussion we've just had. And from there, you could say that, well, yeah, you're going to violate your celestial sphere model if you do that, but you already have.
That's what I meant was, how do you even get to that point?
Indeed. By using a flat plane.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
If experiment disagree, or what is it again? If an experiment disagrees...
If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong.
Right. If there is no experiment, it's safe to say it's also wrong.
No, that's wrong. You can't just say because there is no experiment, it's wrong. Because the whole point of the experiment is to rule out the null. So the null is saying it's wrong. So if you say, well, if there is no experiment, the null stands? No. No, you haven't varied and manipulated that which you assume caused the effect to see if it doesn't cause the effect. If A, not B. If presumed cause varied, then not the effect I'm studying. That's validation. That's why science is empirical. Not because if you haven't had an experiment, well, then the null stands. Definitely not.
But that's not what I meant. though.
I know.
It's just it's not science then, right? If
Yes,
it disagrees
yes.
with the
I knew what you
experiment, it's
meant.
wrong.
It's
If
just
it has no
useful.
experiment, it's not science at all.
That's correct. And it was just a useful way of me dropping that in. But I knew what you meant. No, it's just not science. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just you've got to be careful with your words. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
It can only be derived from a flat plane in relation to the celestial sphere.
That's correct. That's what John just said. Well, that concludes the
I've been
housekeeping.
honest about it as Baldwin too, you know? It's like, yeah, come on, we can't use the horizon. It's not geometric. So, right, there's only one way left to do it, and that's to derive it from a measured length on the Earth in relation to the celestial angles.
Cool. That concludes
What-
the housekeeping. So a couple of my moderators and I think a member of the general public no, it was today, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the super chat today. Have got in touch about other platforms that don't necessarily cross-promote other flat Earth channels. And the suggestion, I don't know if the guy said he didn't want me to particularly name him, I can't remember, but I won't just in case, had said that it might be an idea to suggest to other flat Earth channels who do this solely, i.e. it's their main focus, like mine is, if they wanted to do an advert swap. So the example I was given was Flat Earth Banjo, who I've got to be honest, I don't watch a great deal of. Occasionally I will catch a video from him, but not very often. So I'm familiar with him, but I'm not that familiar, if that makes sense. But that was the suggestion in terms of the comparison. It's like, well, why don't you do an advert swap? In other words, you produce an advert for Flat Earth Banjo, and Flat Earth Banjo produces an advert for you, and then you both publicise it about the same time, and you'll just swap audiences. Why not? Just cross-pollination seems like a sensible idea. I can't remember why I decided to bring this up now. There was a reason. I can't remember why. Might have been because of that super chat earlier. But that was what I was going to suggest, is if you are that Flat Earth YouTube channel, and you're like, yeah, I want to grow my channel, why wouldn't I? Let me know. And maybe it's the case that you make your own advert, I make my own advert, and then we just swap them. So we publish each other's advert on each other's channel, but then presumably you'll put more effort in. Or the lazier might be a sloppier advert for each other methodology, which is you make an advert for me, I make an advert for you. But in any event, whatever, it's just a suggestion that somebody made to me, which I pondered on and thought, yeah, that's not a bad idea. In the past, I've gone out of my way to make adverts for people who I've liked, but without mentioning any particular names, when I've gone back to them and said, hey, I could do with reaching this milestone, could you make me an advert? In a couple of instances, they've declined. Now, or been awkward about it, or said, yeah, I'll put it on my crap channel, things like that. But no, other people, like Mark Sargent especially, has gone out of his way to promote me when I've asked him to. I've said, can you make me an advert? And he's gone, yeah, of course, and just done it. So there's others, not just Mark Sargent, who've been similar and done similar stuff. But like I say, advert swapping, that would be marvellous. If somebody wants to drop me a line, I'm sure you can find a means of doing so pretty easily. And yeah, we'll work something out, and hopefully we can promote each other's channels if there's somebody out there that wants to do that.
I promote your channel at the end of every weekday show.
And when we have a
Basically
large
done.
audience, you definitely plug your Arwin channel here.
Yeah, that too. So go
talking
and
about-
find me on the Flat Earth Early Bird Show, ARWIJN. Talk about the Flat Earth and other things.
But that same person that made that suggestion about a week or 10 days ago also pointed out that they were in somebody else's show, who again I don't want to name and shame, just don't want to get them in trouble, was saying that they'd subtly dropped in hints about coming over to the show in other people's chat. Now, while at the time I was grateful, I was like, that would kind of piss me off if someone did that, and I have banned people for it. Admittedly, not friendlies for shouting out other people's channels, but I know that moderator well enough to know that they're not stupid. In other words, they won't do it in a way that will get them banned or piss the person off whose video it is or live stream it is, I should say. So either way, that's not what I want to necessarily promote. The idea that you should go out and start spamming people that they should come here on their own channel, that's just not good. That's just bad etiquette. Anyway, enough of that.
I have something quick to present there, Nathan, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Unless you have something that's planned, it doesn't matter. I don't have to do it now.
No, I'm talking about promoting other YouTubers and then promoting me. So it's kind of self-serving. Did you have it already screen shared, Brian? Yes, you do.
I have a screen share, yeah.
Okay.
So, will I go ahead with it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. This is just a teaser. This might cause a bit of rage, right, in our opposing side. So you could expect I could be wrong, but I'd say there's a good 80% chance you're going to get a lot of comments underneath the video. He doesn't know what he's talking about, he's stupid, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure I'll get some of them too. This here, what I'm going to show now, this doesn't prove flat or globe, right? But the actual process of it proves flat, without a doubt, right? A lot of people think they know what GPS is. A lot of people think they know how it works. They don't, right? The first thing a GPS unit will do, right, is when it connects to a signal source, right? It doesn't matter whether people want to believe the signal source is 10,000 miles up or a different location in the sky or whatever. We know, right? GPS uses signals from anywhere it can get them, right? There's a lot of ground-based GPS. GPS started on the ground, started with surveying in 1994, the CORS network. A lot of people don't have a clue about how GPS works. Now, this is not going to tell people exactly how it works from word go. Let's say from when you turn on the receiver. This is not it. This is after you turn on the receiver, a step or so afterwards, right? But this is going to show people how some basics of how GPS works. This is just a teaser for more to come in the future, okay? So, as you can see here, I have 4 X's, right? There's 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And I have 4 zeros, or circles. 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and I said it on QE Live there last week, and I had Sean Hawkins and a few people making a video attacking me, calling me as dumb as a bag of hammers, and other people like Farmer's Boy and a few of them in there attacking me as well, right? Because I stated that GPS, right, uses the celestial bodies, right? And the celestial almanac, the nautical almanac, is part of GPS. The GPS receivers have them inside of them, have them inbuilt, right? Now, they do get almanac and ephemeris data sent to them, right, from signal sources, but the data that they have updated is data on man-made signals and the movement of any man-made signals, whether people want to believe they're satellites orbiting a globe or they're high-altitude balloons, which is more likely, airplanes, right, whichever, right? It doesn't matter, right? It's data on them because there's land-based mobile satellites too that are mobile, right? You can have a land-based mobile satellite, which is basically a signal from something that's moving that you're connecting to, right? So a lot of people don't realize that besides man-made signals, let's just say, the microwave signals and whatever else, and information from man-made sources, a GPS unit and a GPS receiver also uses the celestial bodies. And why wouldn't it? Right? Why would it not? So you can count right, any of these 4x's as any three of these 4x's you can count as celestial as GP positions of celestial bodies. One of them has to be what's known as a sub-satellite point, which is the same thing as the GP of a celestial body. It's called a sub-satellite point because it's when the signal is sent, when the signal is sent, when the signal is sent and the receiver receives the signal, it gets the time that the signal has been sent. At that exact time, let's just say we'll use this one up here at f, this x here. At that exact time that the signal was sent, this was the exact geographic position, geographic location that satellite was at. Whether it be a stationary land-based thing, a moving land-based thing, or something in the sky moving, that is the exact coordinates at that exact time of that satellite. So a sub-satellite point is the same thing as the GP from a celestial body. And it's at that exact time, that's exactly the geographical coordinates. That's let's just say, let's just use the analogy, even the globe analogy of a thing floating around in orbit. It doesn't matter. That at the exact time the signal is sent, the information that the receiver receives is that this exact geographical coordinates was at its was at the nadir of the satellite. So the satellite would have been at the zenith of that x there. Do you understand? Everyone okay with that? So it's exactly the same as a GP. It's just that it's not a celestial body. You could do the same for an airplane or a balloon or anything. Right? It doesn't matter. So the four circles here, what they are ghost positions, right? Now you won't find this out. You won't read this. You'll have to. I figured this out. It took me a good while to figure out exactly what was going on. But what they are is ghost positions, and what a receiver does, right, to get an approximate. This is not going to be accurate. Now it may be accurate, especially in a city. If you're in a city, you may not need to do any triangulation or using or any kind of any big time use of the celestial bodies, because you're going to have so many signals, right, that you're going to be able to pick up in a city, right? But it doesn't matter whether it's in a city or outside. The point is that what a receiver will do to gain an approximate is this. So I'll just go into here, just get a line, and just do this, right? So it will take this x here, which is at some kind of some coordinates. Let's say this is north, right, to the top of the screen. South is at the bottom of the screen. To the right is east, and to the left is west. So it's x, y, z, right? So north, east, right, south, and west, right? So what it will do is it will take this position and it will mirror it in the opposite way, right? So it will take. Let's say this is northwest, right? I'm not going to use exact coordinates because it'd be nonsense. Just to say that's northwest, right? Some kind of northwest coordinates. It will take this, and it will get this tools again. Sorry, it will take this. Sorry now, and it will. Sorry now, it's going to a bit. That's what I need. Now, it will draw a line from this to the ghost coordinates, which is like a mirror in the opposite way, right? So it knows, the receiver knows that there's a good chance that it's somewhere along that line. So it's gone from northwest to southeast. And then it will take its next, let's just say, whether it be a sub-satellite point or the GP of a celestial body, and it'll do this. It will mirror that coordinates in the opposite way. So that's southwest. So let's just say, so it'll mirror this up to the northeast. And it'll do the same then with this one, which is kind of, let's just say this one, which is northeast, and it'll mirror it to southwest. And then the same with the last one, it'll go from basically, once again, it's kind of, let's just say southwest to northeast. And that's how it starts to gain its position. That's an approximate. It hasn't. It'll do this very fast. And remember, right? If you have things in the sky that are moving, we know the celestial bodies are moving. That these positions will be moving, right? So it will switch if it needs to, right? If it needs to, it will switch, and it will hold on to this information, and it will switch to 4 completely new things if it needs to, and do it again. So it's gaining an approximate position, and then it will gain its accuracy after that. But I'm not going to go into that part now. But this is how it works. It doesn't just receive a microwave signal from some place in the sky, and that microwave signal tells it where it is. No. How could anything, whether it be globe or flat, just gain a microwave signal from a signal sender? That's why it's called a satellite, a signal sender, because that's what it is. It's sending a signal with information in that signal. It's sending it out all the time, just like a radio station. Just because you turn on your radio and you pick up that signal, does that mean that that radio station knows where you are? No. Right? It's the same exact thing with a satellite. Just because a satellite is pumping out a signal and a receiver picks up that signal and the information in that signal, doesn't mean that that satellite knows where that receiver is. It's just a receiver of that signal. But our opposition think, right, and people in university think, and all kinds of other idiots think, that because you get 4 different signals, right, from 4 different locations, that those signals tell you where you are. No, the receiver must find its own location. The receiver only receives, the signal sender only sends. There is no two-way communication. That doesn't happen. So signals from the sky, right, being picked up by a receiver on the earth, right, doesn't tell the receiver where it is. There is other information that's sent out by the sender, the signal senders, the satellites, whatever. There's other signals that's sent out, other information that's sent out that the receiver then uses to find its own location. So our opposition, who have been claiming that they know about GPS and GPS does this and that, and for God knows years they've been talking about how GPS proves the globe. Besides the fact that GPS uses 3D Cartesian coordinates, which is flat plane coordinates, they have absolutely no idea whatsoever as to how GPS works. This is the basics of how it works. This doesn't prove flat or globe. This particular part doesn't prove flat or globe, because that will work on either. There's other things that prove definitely not globe, only flat. That's the end of that.
I have a question for you. If it could
till the
still
after
fit
show.
in the live show.
No, because
Right.
it's going to end any second. Yeah, can you wait till the after show? We'll ask them. We're already running over a little bit, but thank you very much for that, Brian, before we do round out the live show. But with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!